And we'll do our screen share. Share sound. Okay, so I'm just gonna, we can't quite remember where we left off, so I'm just gonna read these translations for the last verses of chapter 17. And then we'll continue with the Sanskrit in the next chapter. So one of the things we actually discussed a little extensively last week was this different concept, like the value of a gift, right? Like how can a gift or sacrifice be assessed, right? By what criteria, and what is the nature of the highest type of sacrifice, the highest gift, So this is mentioned in this verse 20. So I'll go on, I'll just read these translations. Well, I'll start with this one again. It's a nice reminder. The gift which is given without expectation of return, with the conviction that it ought to be given at an appropriate place and time and to an appropriate recipient, is considered to be of the nature of goodness. Otherwise, the gift begrudgingly given in expectation of gaining something in return, or with a desire for a reward, such as the attainment of heaven, is considered to be of the nature of passion. The gift given disrespectfully and scornfully to an unworthy recipient at an improper place and time is considered to be of the nature of ignorance. The scriptures say that the words Om Tat Sat indicate Brahma, the Supreme Spirit. At the time of the universal manifestation, the Brahmins, the Vedas, and sacrifices were manifested by these three words. Thus, the followers of the Vedas always utter the syllable Om, representing Brahma, the Absolute, to initiate their prescribed duties of sacrifice, charity, and austerity. And this word, we can just perhaps mention this word Om. It has different connotations. It's actually 3 syllables, right? And some of you can enunciate those. I can't really do that. Maybe do. Can you do the 3 syllables?
No.
Maybe Gangalila can, or Priyahita maybe can.
Dula knows how to do it too.
Yeah.
Can you say it like it's 3 separate sounds? Okay, thank you. So this word Om, there's a whole world around it. There are many different connotations surrounding it. And so yes, Om represents the original absolute truth. It's sometimes described as, these 3 syllables representing 3 aspects of the absolute. Like one kind of general idea is Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, right? The creator, represent the creators, maintainers, destroyers, right? We've also heard from our Guru Dev, the highest understanding of Om is that it's representing Shri Radha, Krishna, right? And in that sense, it's actually expressing the Maha Mantra in a different way, because the Maha Mantra is more specifically, in a more clear way, referring to Shri Radha Krishna. Om also means yes. That's something that Srila Sridhar Maharaj has discussed. And he says, Om means a big yes. And you'll see sometimes, that it's used just like that. It just says like yes, in Sanskrit usage. Also, Om is sometimes used as a means of address, right? So you'll see, like it's a way of like initiating, like that you're addressing someone in a respectful way. Like you'll see, like many of our mantras, they begin with Om, and often it's with that purpose. It's like a respectful means of addressing them. Om Agyanat Minandasya, sometimes you'll see even people throw in an Om, even if there isn't one there. It's kind of like just a respectful way of like beginning and addressing someone. And Om is also described as like the original divine sound vibration, which contains in a condensed way all of the Vedic teachings, you know, like a zip file, you know, which contains everything. And then coming from that, you know, all the Vedic knowledge is coming out. But here, you know, in a general sense, saying Om represents Brahma, the absolute. And I'll also mention, let's see, it gets a little confusing because there's Brahma or Brahma. I'm kind of pronouncing it the way, you know, Bengalis, we hear our gurus pronounce this Brahma. Somehow they pronounce it like that. It gets a little confusing because Brahma with a long A on the end is referring to Lord Brahma, the Deva, the demigod who's in charge of the engineering of the universe. But with the short, this is one reason why diacritics are important. And then with the short A, like we see here, this is referring to what we often call Brahman, right? And perhaps that's a better way of making the distinction. It's the same, it's just a different, Brahman and Brahma, it's the same, it's just a different grammatical construction of the same word. But sometimes to make the distinction, we'll say Brahman. So it's referring to the absolute, the divinity, or what we'll sometimes describe as the Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence that's surrounding the Lord. And then Brahma here, this Brahmavadinam, is referring to followers of the Vedas, right? We also have Brahmins, right? Actually, we say Brahmins, that's like a kind of an anglicization with the I, right? But that's Brahmins, like, what is the idea that their life is centered around cultivation of Brahman, right? So they're Brahmins, they're engaged with Brahman. So they're known as Brahmanas or Brahmins, however you're going to pronounce it. So here Brahmavadinam is referring to followers of the Vedas. Priyahita has her hand raised.
Thank you. Wasn't question the mantra that Brahma used to bring everything into creation, Om, as well? Does anyone remember hearing that?
Oh, I mean, that sounds right. You know, I mean, I always hear it as the original sound vibration.
Right. And that's what he chanted over and over again to expand and bring in all the stars.
That sounds right. We also hear in the Brahma Samhita that he also received this initiation, right, at the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
Saraswati, and he was given a Gayatri mantra, right, described as the 18-syllabled mantra, which we also received at the time of Gayatri. So we also hear that, but yes, but it seems like Om was chanted before, right? But I don't know how the whole sequence went. I wasn't there. But yes, we do hear that Om is like the most primordial sound in existence, right? So yeah. Any other comments on Om? I know Jayadev would have something to say. It's not here. And welcome Scarlett, who's also joined us, Ramananda Prabhu.
Dandas everybody. Dandas Vishakha Didi.
Dandavat and Gangalila, of course. So all these words, they have so much power because you're calling out, right, to a higher being. You're inviting them. You're inviting their divine flow. Like, this is the power of mantras. And why we'll be careful what mantra we're chanting. Because all those mantras have some particular power. They have some particular object in mind, right? And mantras want to take us to a particular destination, right? And so we, we will be careful. And it's something very, very powerful. Ramananda Prabhu, please.
Yeah. I heard Guru Maharaj say everything is personal. So Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, see, Om I am. When we address with a different mantra, so we invoking those persons, because there is person behind everything. As Guru Maharaj point over and over, even Srila Prabhupada mentioned again and again in his Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to remember that. See, everything is person. Or there were some position, but everything is personal. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm reminded, this is perhaps going on a bit of a tangent, but with some humor, the incident, we hear the history of Kunti Devi, right, who received a mantra without knowing the power of it. And she ends up, getting pregnant with different devas, right? She doesn't know the power of this mantra, what she's invoking, right? So be careful.
That's good story. Thank you. Yeah, she said, no. They said, now you invoke us, so you have to do something with us. So that's why she got Karna. Yeah.
And I really appreciate the example of Gopakumar, right, who's described in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that he receives this Gopal Krishna mantra, and he's not, totally sure of the significance of it, but he's chanting it faithfully because his guru gave it to him. And as we said, right, this mantra has its own desire, wants to take him to, its particular destination, right? And so he's chanting that, and by the power of that, just chanting with a little faith, right? It's gradually, slowly bringing him to higher and higher planes, closer and closer to its desired goal, right? And we see that along the way, he makes different stops, and he's there for some time. He even achieves a position like Lord Brahma and Satyaloka and Brahmaloka for some time. But because of the power of this mantra, there's a point when he becomes dissatisfied, right? Because the mantra doesn't want to be there, right? The mantra wants to take him to Vrindavan, to the feet of Krishna, right? And so we see that he makes different stops, but eventually, because of the power of this mantra, some dissatisfaction is created in his heart, and he feels the urge to go further and to go on, right? And so in the same way, our gurus, they've given us, this Maha Mantra, and also giving these Gayatri mantras to support that chanting of the Maha Mantra. And the Maha Mantra, wants to take us to the feet of Shri Radha Krishna. And as long as we, all we have to do actually is create a favorable environment for that seed, right, to manifest, right? And there will be some periods, there may be lifetimes of dormancy, right, where that seed sprout is dormant and not, or in a frozen fresh condition. There's not much movement going on. But as soon as the environment is favorable again, then that mantra will be able to exert its own will, right? The mantra is alive, right, as Ramananda Prabhu is emphasizing. And this is, and sometimes it's pointed out by our gurus that all we have to do is remove anything that's in the way. Like the mantra is going to take us forward of its own accord. And all we have to do is like move the blocks, right? Like our Param Gurudev Srila Sridhar Maharaj just mentioned, if we remove all forms of bad association, we're 90% there. Just remove everything that's holding you back, and the mantra will take you, the connection with Guru, the power of the holy name will take us forward of its own accord. Right? And this is also what's being indicated in the 10th offense to the holy name, Nama Parad, right? That what is that 10th offense? It's described as being that our heart has not melted in love for Krishna. Which is kind of odd. It's kind of a funny one, isn't it? It's like, oh, well, that's not something I have control over right now. But what our Gurudev and Param Gurudev have explained is that what's actually being stated here is that we are creating resistance. That's what the offense is. That, you know, the name, we've been given the name in the proper channel, and that name wants to take us to its destination. The name's like a train that wants to go to Goloka Vrindavan. And it like it has its own engine, right? Or like the example is given of the boat, right? The boat, it's, you know, it's an electric boat. It wants to go forward. However, we're putting an anchor. We've tied an anchor down, right? So that's what the offense is, that we're creating blocks. We're putting up walls of resistance, that the name is trying to take us forward in a particular direction, and we're making some obstruction. We're holding on to all of our mundane conceptions, right? We're not, the name will help shake things up. And that's something that we'll all notice actually in our lives, right? We get shame. I mean, everyone's got their story, right? Dulal here, he's got his story, pretty amazing actually. No, he met our devotees, his life fell apart, like literally. Family, you know, a job, previous accommodation, everything, like within like a few weeks, right, of meeting the devotees of Krishna. So like, you know, there's a bit of danger involved. There's, you know, there's some warnings given by our guru sometimes, like at your own risk, like literally, you know, Rupa Goswami and others that are, they're giving that warning, like, don't go. If you have attachment to your family life and your friends, you know, stay under the covers. Don't go out and see how beautiful Krishna is, or you're going to be in trouble. So this is the thing, that once the holy name enters our lives, then things will start to get shaken up, right? All of our carefully protected little corners, right? Where we've got all our little, you know, stashes stored away, and you know, all our dark little hidden corners, right? The holy name's going to come and like try and do a big spring clean. and there may be humiliation, there may be pain involved, right? But our duty is to go with that. Say, it's okay. I'm just going to go with that. I'm going to face whatever I have to face, but I got to go forward, whatever that means, right? No resistance, right? So that's our job, actually, to cooperate. Sometimes I think of it like that. We just need to cooperate with the divine will. Like, we don't have to come up with our own initiative so much. Of course, there's an element of that, but mostly we just have to cooperate. Say yes. Okay, Lord, putting my hands up. Putting my hands up. This is what you want, okay.
Sharanagati, yeah, that's what they say.
Sharanagati.
Sharanagati, Bhaktera Prana, yeah. The training of Sharanagati, yeah.
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Just finished, comes the end of this chapter. Persons aspiring for liberation utter the word Tat, representing Brahma, the absolute, to invoke the performance of various acts of sacrifice, charity, and austerity without motivation for the results. O Partha, the word Sat, representing Brahma, the absolute, indicates the truth and persons dedicated to the truth. Therefore, the word Sat is uttered to invoke the performance of auspicious activities. So this word Sat, we come across it a lot in different ways, right? Sadhu, right? Sadhu means one who is, dedicated to Sat, who's following Sat. So we come across that in different ways, in different forms. The word Sat is said to indicate the eternality of sacrifice. Yeah, and that's another interesting point, that sometimes Sat is translated as eternity, right? Like in like when the nature of the soul is being described, Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Like normally the way that's rendered is as eternity, Sat as eternity, Chit as consciousness, Ananda joy, right? But that Sat, it's also true. The idea, right, is that what is eternal? Truth, right? Real truth is eternal. So it's like they're almost used interchangeably in the scripture. And then, so the word Sat is said to indicate the eternality of sacrifice, austerity, like real truth, right? Not relative truth, but absolute truth is of an eternal nature. And what is eternal? That is truth. The word Sat is said to indicate the eternality of sacrifice, austerity, and charity. An action for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord is called Sat, truth. O Partha, sacrifice, charity, and austerity, or any action performed without faith in the Supreme, is known as asat, or untrue. Such works cannot bring an auspicious result, either in this world or the next. Okay, so we've come to the end of that chapter. So now we've actually come to the last chapter, right? Chapter 18, right? It's the last chapter. Wow. Moksha Yoga, the path of liberation. Wow, amazing. Okay, well, let's hear our Gurudev chanting these verses. I'm quite ready here. Sorry, didn't have it ready. Here we go. Here we are, chapter 18.
अथाष्टोदशादशोऽध्याय अष्टादशोऽध्याय मुख्ययोग अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासस्य महाबाहो तत्त्वमिच्छामि वेदितुं त्यागस्य च ऋषिकेश पृथक् केशि निषूदन श्रीभगवानुवाच काम्यानां कर्मणां न्यासं सन्न्यासं कवयो विदुः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं प्राहुस्त्यागं विचक्षणा त्यज्यं दोषपदेत्तेके कर्म प्राहुर्मनीषिणः यज्ञदानतपः कर्म न त्याज्यमिति चापरे निश्चयं शृणु मे तत्र त्यागे भरतसत्तम त्यागो हि पुरुषव्याघ्र त्रिविधः संप्रकीर्तितः यज्ञदानतपः कर्म न त्याज्यं कार्यमेव तत् यज्ञो दानं तपश्चैव पावनानि मनीषिणाम् एतान्यपि तु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा फलानि च कर्तव्यानीति मे पार्थ निश्चितं मतमुत्तमम् नियतस्य तु सन्न्यासं कर्मणो नोपपद्यते मोहास्तस्य परित्यागस्तामसः परिकीर्तितः दुःखमित्येव यत् कर्म कायक्लेशो भयात् त्यजेत् सकृत्वा राजसं त्यागं नैव त्यागफलं लभेत् कार्यमित्येव यत्कर्म नियतं क्रियते अर्जुन संगं त्यक्त्वा फलं चैव सत्याग सात्विको मतः न तेष्ट कुशलं कर्म कुशलेनानुसज्जते त्यागी सत्व समाविष्टो मेधावी छिन्न संशयः.
Okay, so let's chant these verses together. Arjuna Vacha Sanyasasya Mahabaho Tatmami Chami Veditam Yagasya Cha Rishikesha Vitakeshi Nisudana Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam Sanyasam Kavayo Vidu Sarva Karma Paratyagam Bahustyagam Vichapnaha Yagyam Doshavadhyeke Karma Prahur Manishinaha Yagyadana Tapa Karma Natyajami Chapade Nishchayam Shinume Tatra Jage Bharata Sattama Jago Hi Purusha Vyagra Jivita Sampakirtitaha Yagyadana Tapa Karma Natyajam Kayameva Tat Yagyodanam Tapaschaiva Pavanani Manishinam Nitanya Pitu Karmani Sangam Tyaktva Phalani Cha Kartavyaniti Me Karta Nishchitam Matamutamam Niyatasya Tu Sanyasa Karmano Nupapadyate Mohatasya Parityagas Tamasa Parikirtitaha Dukamityeva Yat Karma Vayaklesha Vayatyajet Sakritva Rajasam Tyagam Naiva Tyaga Phanam Labhet Karyamityeva Yat Karma Niyatam Kriyate Arjuna Sangam Tyaktva Phanam Chaiva Satyaga Sattiko Mataha Nadvishtya Kushalam Karma Kushale Nanusajate Tyagi Sattva Samavishto Medavi China Samshayaha. All right. Well, Dulal, do you want to read those translations?
Sure.
And if you can just scroll down here so those following the screen.
Arjuna said, O Almighty Lord, slayer of the demon Keshi, I wish to understand the subject of renunciation, sannyas, and detachment, tyaga, separately. The Supreme Lord said, learned, enlightened persons know the giving up of fruit of action as renunciation, and the giving up of the fruits of all action as detachment. Some philosophers hold that action should be renounced as imperfect. Others hold that action of the nature of sacrifice, charity, and austerity should never be given up. O best of the Bharatas, hear my perfect conclusion concerning detachment, the quality of renunciation. Since, O best of men, it has been clearly established that the quality of renunciation is of three types. Actions of the nature of sacrifice, charity, and austerity should never be abandoned. They must be performed, for they are the purifiers of the wise. But even these actions must be performed, abandoning attachment and fruit of desire. O Partha, know this to be my perfect supreme conclusion. Renunciation of one's obligatory duties is wrong. The delusion of giving up these duties is called false renunciation, or renunciation of the nature of ignorance. One who abandons his obligatory duties out of fear of physical discomfort, considering them troublesome, performs renunciation of the nature of passion, and thus he does not attain the fruit of true detachment. O Arjuna, performance of obligatory works as a matter of duty while abandoning attachment and fruit of desire is renunciation of the nature of goodness. This is my opinion. The wise renunciate, who is absorbed in the nature of goodness and who has slashed all doubts, neither resents disagreeable duties nor is attached to agreeable works.
Okay, great. All right. So some interesting points here, discussion. Does anyone want to share any thoughts first? So this is quite a significant point that's being made here, right? And because normally these are things that we might conflate as one, right? Renunciation and detachment, right? But what's oh, Scarlett has her hand raised. Please, Scarlett, would love to hear from you.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, and thank you for today.
Thank you.
Verse 9, it says that do your oh my God, I have Swedish in front of me. Do your duty, prescribed duty. How do I know what is my prescribed duty?
Well, that's something that's unique, for every individual. And, you may be at a stage in your life where you don't have so many. You raised your children, right? You may be at a point in your life, someone's retired, their children are grown up, or, and so on. One may be at a stage in their life where they don't have so many duties in the world. But there is simply the duty of maintaining our bodies, right? That's also a duty. That's it. We can conceive that we have two duties, and in a general sense, two principal duties, and so many things under those two categories. And this is something that's discussed earlier in Gita. Actually, it's more indicated, and then there's a very nice purport of Bhakti Vinod Thakur included in our edition of Gita, where he's explaining that there's the duty pertaining to the world, and then there's our duty pertaining to the Lord, right? Or to frame it in another way, there's the duty pertaining to our temporary relative existence as conditioned souls in this world, that we are mothers, fathers, children, students, employees, whatever it may be, but there's a whole set of duties there attached to that identity. And then there's our higher, eternal, absolute identity and associated duties, right? That we are Jivar Supahoy, Krishna Nitya Das. We are all eternal servants of Krishna. So then we have both of these duties which we have to attend to. And I would say that if one is at a stage in life where they have less worldly duties, then they can give more attention to their spiritual duty. Cultivate in whatever way that they can, right? One's health, physical condition may not allow us to give as much energy as we would like for the service of Krishna. Then we can, in whatsoever way, we can try to maintain our attachment. What are the two principles? To always remember, to never forget. This is mentioned in the scriptures. Smartavya satatam vishnur vishmartavya najatu chit. In an eta vidi nisedasyor etayor evakinkara. Right, to always remember the Lord and to never forget him. All of the injunctions and prohibitions given in the scriptures are servants of these two principles. So we can remember that, right? That according to our capacity, according to our situation, we'll try to devote ourselves to that higher duty as much as possible. And as needed, we will attend to our worldly duty according to how much it is necessary. Does that answer your question, Scarlett?
Yes, thank you.
And Priyahita, you had your hand raised.
Okay, Krishna. On that, I was curious if this is relating ultimately to our, Varnash, how do you say it?
Varnashram Dharma.
Thank you. So that, so I may be a householder in the moment, and my Dharma is to my family. And yet at some point I may have attachment and I want to continue this after everyone's left. And I'm still really attached to the idea of being a mother. So maybe I go out and get animals to mother or something like this. And rather than becoming vanaprastha and saying, oh, now I need to go preach. Now I need to go maybe, put myself out there more now that I've taken care of my duties, relating to the comfort of my home. Maybe I don't want to let go of everything that seems so, I know it's temporary, and yet, we've spent so much of our limited time in creating this atmosphere, and maybe it's conducive to Krishna consciousness, yet at some point we need to leave that comfort and not be attached, because it's a type of attachment maybe to the what I gain from that, just that thought is not very clear thought, but
no, I think I really deeply appreciate you sharing that. That's beautiful. I think in those cases we have to pray to Krishna to steal our hearts.
or pray for courage to transcend.
Yes. I mean, the thing is that we can't force anything, right? We can't force anything because Krishna wants our heart. That's what Krishna is interested in. And also, it's not going to be sustainable if our heart's not in it. If we're like forcing it in an artificial way, then, that's not sustainable, right? And another thing is that, we all have particular roles to play, right? In Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, right? Radhanu Rupini, I think, just indicated that in her message here. Yeah, it may not be that everyone is meant to be a preacher, right? That was something our Gurudev used to say sometimes, like, it's not that everyone has to go out and, be on the field. That's not for everyone, right? But we're all supporting that according to our nature and capacity, right? And but yeah, I mean, I think the main point is facing mundane attachment that we're holding on to, right, in its various forms. And I would say that just the fact that we can maintain our connection with the ideal in some small way, that's not something to be undermined, right? That in itself is already a very great thing, that, year after year, day after day, we can maintain our attachment to the ideal of Krishna consciousness. We can maintain our faith in the words of our gurus and the message of the Shastra. That is a great thing, and there are many who can't do that. There are many who come for some time and they go after some time, right? So that is actually the first thing to preserve what we have, to protect what we have, and to have some routine, some way of living that is protecting that faith that we have, right? So if it means like tuning into, online meetings, if it means, meeting with our local Sangha, going to the Sunday meeting, chanting our japa every day, trying to read a little of the books every day, hearing the talks of our gurus, right? Connecting with our god brothers and god sisters in different ways. And when we have the opportunity to offer some service, then to offer that. I think that's a very beautiful and humble way to go on with one's life. And in regards to our attachments, I think, first of all, it's very, it's a huge step if we're simply aware of them and we acknowledge them, right? And we don't make excuses for them. But it's like, yeah, I'm attached to this. And I do. That's my situation right now. I think that's so beautiful and so cool. You know, like, yeah, I'm attached to my morning coffee. I'm attached to my whatever it may be. I'm attached to my Netflix, you know, my Diet Coke. I'm attached to whatever habits, you know, it may be. And that's my situation right now, right? I think that's already like a big step, right? Just acknowledging that, you know, this is where we are. But I also have some little hints of attraction to Krishna. I'm also trying to nurture that, right? Krishna consciousness is not about negation, right? Krishna consciousness is not about repression. Krishna consciousness is about our hearts melting in love for Krishna. So, you know, we want to give a little food to that every day, you know. So sometimes I like to, you know, to give this analogy, you know, that, and it's not just an analogy, it's actually the facts that, you know, we forget Krishna's a person and we're building a relationship, right? So it's like imagine you know, you have a romantic partner or whatever, it could even just be a friend, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, I was going to bring you some flowers and then I just like forgot, you know. Or I was going to bring you some flowers. I was going to cook you something. And then I thought I'd rather just watch some Netflix, you know. And then, oh, but I'm feeling so guilty about it. It's like, that just spoils the mood. It's like, if you want to cook me something, then cook me something. If you don't, then don't. You don't need to go into some whole mental trip about it. Like, that's just going to kill the mood. You know, like whatever you have, like give that in a real way. Like, oh, I love seeing you every Friday. I love our get-togethers, right? Not like, oh, I'm feeling so guilty because I didn't give you the attention that I should have. And it's like, what is that? What are you going to do with that? Like, hello, you know, I'm a person here. Like, let's just have our meeting once a week that is so fantastic, right? And so full of love. And then we're doing whatever we're doing the rest of the time. But that one thing that we're doing is real, right? So if all we can do, you know, is chant or japa every day and listen to 15 minutes of some divine talk, some harikatha, that's like in that moment, give everything. In that 15 minutes, give it your all, you know. Like make that 15 minutes an offering of love. Right? Wholehearted offering, and we're waiting for Krishna to capture us, right? We want to be Krishna's instruments. So how, when, you know, if, you know, there's also an element of just being a chatak bird, right? We're waiting for that drop of rain, sweet rain from Krishna. Oh, when will Krishna come and capture my heart? He's just, what is he doing? He's just letting me sit here and wallow in my mundanity. Like, what is he doing? You know, like someone said to me recently, you know, I don't know how I got into the mess that I'm in right now. You know, like someone who's like a little bit distracted, you know, not giving what they used to give, but they have that clarity, like, what happened? Like, how did I get here? Like, Gurudev, save me, man. Save me. And you know, and you know, being in that mode, right, of our mundane attachment is also very humbling, right? And when we have those moments of spiritual inspiration, there's like this contrast, and then we realize which is better, right? You know, what's sweeter, what's higher, what do I really want, right? So there's an element of separation that's created by our indulgence of mundane attachment. And Radhana Rupini has her hand raised.
I forgot, Didi, I forgot what chapter it was, but in the beginning of the Gita, there's a part there where Arjuna goes, you know, Krishna, what if I can't perfect And he goes, well, if you can't do this, then do this. And if you can't do this, then do this. And if you can't do this, you know, that's an important thing to remember.
Yes, I mean, how merciful is the Lord? Like, does he not have a whole arrangement for us, right? At every step, like whatever little we can give, he's embracing that. How merciful, how accommodating, how loving. You know, we have to trust he's going to have some arrangement to get me, to steal my heart. He'll find some way. Krishna can be very tricky. That's his nature. He's a thief. You know, he'll find his way when he wants. You know, we don't resist too much, right? And really, like, honestly, I say sincerely with my whole heart, like, to continue every day in our quiet way, you know, maintain our attachment to the ideal in our small way. I think that's a very noble thing, very wonderful thing. It is not something that should be underestimated or undermined, devalued, undervalued in any way. It is a very beautiful and great thing to do. And when Krishna needs us or wants us for some particular cause, you know, he can make those arrangements. You know, but we're like quiet students, right? Going about learning our lessons day by day. That's a very, very beautiful thing to do. Any other comments from anyone? And welcome to Steve, who also joined us, and Anu Krishna and the 3D world is here. Whoa. Oh, Ramananda Prabhu has his hand raised.
Thanks, Vishaka Didi. Thanks. That was very sweet and very good. Actually, I heard Srila Gurudev say we need strong faith. We have to have strong faith, and then we can proceed. That's why we need association. Yeah. You are very good association. See, it's very hard to find good association. I feel so lucky, so blessed. Yeah. And Gurudev, Gurumai encouraged so much. He is our guardian, he is our friend. Environment is favorable. Gurumai, it's just.
And you know what? One thing I saw. Oh, sorry, Prabhu. Go ahead.
No, you go, please.
Thank you for sharing that, Prabhu. And I just add, you know, that, you know, one thing we saw with our Gurudev, I mean, I feel like it was quite prominent in him, actually, in the way that he reciprocated and engaged with devotees, is that he appreciated very much like a natural growth in Krishna consciousness. You know, he never put any value on artificial renunciation, false renunciation, but rather the opposite. You know, and he could sometimes like give his mercy and give attention to the most unexpected person. You know, but what he appreciated was a natural approach and giving of the heart. You know, like once he mentioned about one devotee who, you know, who was basically like a yogini, we could say, you know, has a lot of this is, you know, a little bit of a different spear from, you know, mundane attachment, but, you know, we could say attachment that isn't fully in line with the ideals of Krishna consciousness. But this is someone who, you know, is like a Shiva, something of a Shiva Bhakta, yogini, but came and gave their heart to our Gurudev, you know, and our Gurudev didn't, you know, try to change her or criticize her, but he made one comment like she came with yoga, she came with Shiva and fully gave herself, you know, like this naked approach. You know, it's like we're coming with everything that we have in a naked way. This is who I am and what I am, and I'm yours. And it's your problem, actually. You know, it's your problem. You know? But like, you know, like natural affection and appreciation for Krishna consciousness, like not you know, sitting and with all these hangups, oh, I'm not this and I'm not that. But yeah, you know, I have all my attachment and I love Krishna too, right? So what are you gonna do? Like natural affection, that's appreciable. And then that gives Krishna something to work with. Okay, here's some capital. Now we can grow on that, you know, we can do something with this. Right? But Krishna doesn't need our mental hangups, you know, or false renunciation or whatever. But natural affection, some little inkling of natural, real attachment. You know, Krishna consciousness is all about the positive side, engagement of the positive side. Like our Gurudev mentioned once about, you know, how some devotees, they'd given up a lot of their material attachments. And he said, but it's all happened by Shravan Kirtan. Right? Not through some like forceful renunciation, but through hearing and chanting. You know, and that's our process. Go on with hearing and with some faith, right? Oh, the holy name can pure. Do we not have faith in the power of the holy name? Right? Our Gurudev would, you know, he also mentioned like not to try to restrain the senses in a pushing way, right? Like in this repressive way, you know, but go on with our engagement in the positive side. Let our affinity and our attraction for that higher side develop. Let that pull us, right? Cultivate that higher taste, right? As Swami Maharaj Prabhupada expresses it. Cultivate that higher taste. Let that pull us, right? And as I was kind of saying before, like really just keeping some awareness, like keeping some checks and balances in our consciousness. It's really helpful. Like, oh yeah, this is my attachment. Having that awareness in our consciousness, you know, not just having a big muddle in our head, but having that some healthy awareness. That's very helpful, actually. That's a really good starting point. And yeah, and yes, you know, that Varnashram system, like that's the idea of that whole system, right? That the way Srila Sridhar Maharaj described it, sympathetic dealings with nature, right? This is the whole system of the Vedas, not that we have to reject our mundane natures, but we try to adjust them in such a way so that they are, you know, regulate them in such a way so that they are connected with our spiritual development. We don't need to reject anything. You know, let it all naturally develop, right? But repression is never helpful and it's not sustainable. So, you know, we want to be real. We want to be real with whatever little we have. Let it be real. Let that little drop of what we have be a real drop. But it's a very nice subject matter. Thank you for bringing it up. Anyone have any, we have a few minutes left. Anyone have any thoughts, comments before we close?
I remember that Srila Gurudev, he said, simply add Krishna. Don't worry about removing things. Just add Krishna, add Krishna.
Very nice. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Prabhu. Anupishi, I'd love to hear something from you.
Putting me on the spot. No, I really appreciate and take that concept to heart of, you know, not, you know, kind of accepting of who you are and where you're at in life and letting Krishna come into your life and just organically things will change. And that's been true for me and things, you know, I've never been a fan of religion and organized religion and growing up in organized religion, it felt very fear-based and confining, and I never really was drawn to that, and I felt rejected a lot in who I am naturally. And so when I found Krishna consciousness, it was like the opposite of that. It's like, let's be who you are, and just take some prasadam, like let me feed you, and let's dance, and let's sing kirtan, and just by those celebrations alone, my life organically changed, and just letting Krishna in without forcing anything out, it just happened naturally, and it becomes a very beautiful thing, and it's still happening, 10 years later, to this day. I still see it happening. So I really, really like that concept. And it's true, it's real. You see it every day. So I see it here with Dulal Krishna in the short time I've known him.
Thank you for sharing that, Anu Krishna. And I really appreciate the atmosphere here in her home, because it is like this very, natural, organic mood, right, of Krishna consciousness. And it's and I haven't known Anu Krishna that long, but I feel like in the short time I've known her, like she's making leaps and bounds, and it's just very natural. I really appreciate that. And did you want to say something again, Prihita? You had your hand raised again, or was that from before?
No, I just feel sometimes like I talk too much, and I'm trying to work on listening more. But I wanted to express so much deep gratitude for what was said today, because honestly, like hearing this just saves me from a deep, dark well of my own creation of I just get so heavy on myself sometimes. I feel like I'm not doing enough, and I get depressed, and it sometimes almost completely blocks my ability to connect with who I know is everywhere. Like I understand and I can really feel, but sometimes I have so much shame, and I realize that this is not a conception that's divine. This is a conception of illusion. And sometimes it's the biggest. I wish everyone could hear this. I wish it's so important to hear that like core message. It just, you talk about that creeper of bhakti, and it's so precious. And sometimes like by our own doing, we just like close the light on it. I can't do this. I'm not worthy. Like I'm so full of so many anarthas, and I'm so messed up, and I have so many attachments. How can I ever I should never open my mouth. I should just, I should just feel bad, and and this is not what cultivates the love for God. And I wish, like, I know so many devotees and just people in general with all religions that suffer with this guilt and shame. And I just wanted to thank you, because even though it and the conception is there, and you read it, until it's expressed in this forum like this, it's almost giving each other permission. Then I thank you, really, for your words.
I really appreciate your courage, and I see that you often put yourself in a vulnerable position in our meetings, and I appreciate your courage and honesty very much. Thank you for sharing that, really.
I'm so grateful for this association, so thank you.
And Radhanu,
one time I expressed to Gurudev the same thing. I said to Srila Gurudev, I said, sometimes I feel so bad about myself, how fallen I am and everything like that, that I can't really do my seva. I just feel like I'm not worthy to do it. And he told me sometimes humility is not appropriate. Too much humility is not appropriate.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that. And Radhanu Rupini also wanted to say something.
It's like I always remember that not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Lord, and that we can force things, but it won't happen. So we have to just follow the process that's given to us by our spiritual teachers, spiritual masters, have association, and know that wherever we are, we're supposed to be there. And like for somebody like me, sometimes I feel, ooh, maybe I should be way more advanced, and I think, no, actually, I had lessons to learn, deep, heavy lessons to learn. So we're all at the place we're supposed to be. And if you just look at that place, you will understand that there's a lesson in the place you're at. And then once you get it, then you can go on and to the next one. And most of the time, I find in my own life that the lesson I have to learn is to serve Krishna is the sweetest thing, that I keep on looking everywhere for this sweetness, but it's right there. Serving the spiritual masters, serving the devotees, doing the 9 processes of devotional service, especially chanting and hearing, association with such lovely devotees like all of you. This is what we need. And this is like the lesson I find, and this is just a personal thing, I'm finding that I'm constantly having to learn. And we have to understand, I'm talking about only myself. It's like, our life right now is our fructified karma, from the past. So whatever we have to go through, whatever hardship or whatever it is, it's just something we have to burn, and we have to be, just be patient, and it'll pass. But not a blade of grass will move without the sanction of the Lord. I always remember that. He always keeps us in mind.
Thank you for sharing that, Radhanurupini. Certainly patience is truly a virtue and real necessity if we want to carry this through, want to go the long haul, right? Patience is mentioned by Srila Rupa Goswami as one of the 6 favorable qualities for devotion. So yes, having this acceptance of where we are, facing the lessons that are appropriate for us here and now, and keeping that patience and perseverance, very, very valuable. It's a long journey. It's a long journey. Ganga Leela has some, we can also maybe just emphasize that a bit more. It's not a journey of a few days, a few years, or even a life, right? That's something to remember. It's a journey of many lifetimes. And when you have a long journey, what do you have to do? You have to pace yourself, right? Different types of energy and different approaches are necessary according to the type of endeavor that you are beginning, right? And for a journey like this, it's a journey in eternity. And it's not something that we will complete in a quick way. There's no shortcuts, right? And so that's something to remember, right? And it's like sometimes in school we may see those students who, were slowly developing, maybe not doing even very well in the beginning, but they're minding their lessons, they're doing their homework, and they may be the ones who succeed in life. Whereas then you have those students who are maybe just, say for example, they're teacher pleasers, or they want some instant results, but they don't really have the desire to really understand what this is and really feel the value of what this is. And in the end, they're not going to go very far. So that's something that we do have to always remember. It's a long journey. It's a journey of great profundity. And we're in need of constantly recalibrating, reassessing, reevaluating, and going a little slow can be healthy and safe, actually. And Ganga Leela, I'd love to hear from you. You have your hand raised.
I'm just so thankful, Vishaka Didi, today. For some reason, I'm feeling especially moved. It's often moving me, and I mean, like in an emotional way and in a mental way, when something moves me. today I really feel how some of it is, it's a feeling of something is disintegrating what needs clearance, and something is building, and it's I think that's what's moving me literally. I'm like emotionally really touched by what's been said and how you're saying it. And part of it is that I believe that I had a forceful force running through my life, and I've been learning and tasting something which has it's a gentle force, and I didn't even know that those two words can be put together. But that's what happened today to me. I'm like, oh my God, this gentleness, what's been pointed out today, what you've been explaining, it's so empowering for me. I think I never knew what that was. Thank you so much. I'm like, meh. Thank you for walking us, for holding our hands, but by having such high topics. I really appreciate that.
Oh, Kangalila. Thank you for sharing that. And actually, I like that very much, that phrase, gentle force, because that actually reminds me of our Guru Dev, Srila Govinda Maharaj. That was his style, actually. His mood, he was not like he was coming at you with this rah type of mood. Do this, go there, go forward. It was in a kind of underground, kind of hidden way. He was like capturing your heart and motivating you, inspiring you in this slow burn type of way to go forward in a very deep way in your spiritual life, from the core. So I appreciate the way that you phrased that. Wow, it's been another beautiful meeting, beautiful group. My gratitudes, humble, sincere gratitude to all of you for your wonderful association. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai, Shri Hari Jai, Jai.
Vishaka Didi ki.
Jai.
Bye.
See you all.
Thank you very
Thank you
much
for your association.
Dhanyavad. See you.